to what the Friday. Sorry we couldn't do it last week. We were both traveling, and I I got to tell you, in terms of what the Friday, this is a big one, and we've been talking about this since yesterday. Um, the old "it's the economy, stupid." This was the most suicidal and dumb political act I think I've ever witnessed in my career.
It was the most stupidest.
It was the it,
It's the economy stupid.
Joe
Can you guys hear me? Because we're trying to.
Yeah, let's make sure we have good audio.
Can you
everybody.
hear me? And also, two questions. Can you hear me? Do you hear an echo? You guys have to tell us.
Let us know, party people.
If you hear us and if the audio seems weird.
Okay, yes, you can hear, or yes, you hear an echo.
Yeah, that was the problem. We hear you.
We hear you.
Do you? No echo.
No echo.
All right, great.
Boom.
All right, we're gonna keep going here.
Boom.
No echo.
We have made a technological breakthrough.
All right, it's all.
Why bother with a studio when you can have two cell phones propped up on little weird contraptions?
Right. That's right.
So we were talking this morning about
crashing the
economy,
and how bad it
is. But there might be an upside here, is that it's going to distract them a little bit from all the fascism.
So
maybe.
Right. So we were talking about all these billionaires who obeyed in advance, and now they've lost billions of dollars in these market turmoil. Can you guys not hear me? It's here. Anyway,
okay, they can barely
hear me. All right, that's the problem. I may have to go in the other room.
Okay, go in the other room.
All right, goodbye.
Yeah. Don't shut your phone off. Just
no.
We have a delicate situation. All right, folks. Well, while Molly is walking into her other room to set her gear up, the idea that we're going to have a little less fascism might work out. And make sure you unmute your mic on the upper right of the app, Molly.
Can you guys hear me? Can anyone hear me? Do I exist?
I can hear you.
Okay.
You
Can you
do
hear me?
exist. I believe it to be the case. I saw you
Great,
30 seconds ago.
That's good. All right.
All right, folks.
Yes.
So Molly, the theory of the case being this is so catastrophic for the tech firms, for the Wall Street folks, for even a lot of MAGA voters, with all these layoffs and job losses coming, that this might make it a little harder for them to be full bore on some of their other wilder fascist schemes.
I think the theory of the case here is the accelerationist case for Trump, right? The idea that if you crash the markets, then you are in a defensive crouch. And if
Yeah.
you are in a defensive crouch, then you are unable to get the sort of grad school kids disappearing, this kind of full on authoritarian state going. And I think that's a real question. I'm not sure. I mean, we don't know. I think there's still a lot to be seen in this administration, but you definitely are seeing, the chance of a recession. We saw JP Morgan 30% to 40% to 60% yesterday. Like, these are not good indicators. And while there are people who will say that they think that this is a sort of techno-fascist ploy to destroy the economy. I don't think any of these people are playing three-dimensional chess here. I think
No,
they're
I
just
think that I think no, I think that's exactly right, Molly. I think there's a lot of stupidity explains a lot of this, Trump
right.
stupidity, and I also think the culture of Trumpism. I think everybody in the White House who heard this guy and heard it when it was road tested internally, they said, "Oh, Mr. President, this is the most brilliant plan I've ever imagined.
Right.
Only you could do this, Donald. Only you could bring this new golden era upon us."
Yeah, that's what I think too. I just think, like, the problem with Elon too is that when you have so much positive reinforcement for just merely taking breaths,
Right.
right? It ends up leading to a kind of feedback loop that ultimately does not make good decision making.
So he lives inside a bubble. That
Right.
bubble on Twitter tells him every day that he's the tallest, smartest, handsomest man in the world. And 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 just like Trump, he bought into the bullshit.
Right.
And I think it's interesting. We're hearing stories now. Kara Swisher reported this morning that there's going to be a cavalcade of tech CEOs going down to Mar-a-Lago. Y'all, I mean, Molly, I don't know about you, but I'm eager for this one because it'll be the Bezoses, the Zuckerbergs, Larry Ellisons, Peter Thiels, all those kind of people. They're going to go down there and say, "Mr. President, this is a terrible idea. And by the way, we gave you $1 million for your inauguration committee." And Trump will do what Trump loves to do, which is to humiliate people who have already given in to him.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how bought in he is on the tariffs. A lot of smart people think he's so bought in that he will just crash the economy. I don't know what his pain tolerance is. I think eventually, I mean, for example, today China came back with the reciprocal tariffs. Scott Besson had said the day before that that the best thing to do was just let it happen, and that would be the high watermark. That seemed to show a certain complete inability to think in any way, shape, or form, right? Like
Uh,
just go along with it. I mean, I'm no China
Lie
expert, but
back and think of England.
right. I mean, I'm no China expert, but it strikes me as a pretty naive take. And I think that, I think there's a real question. And once we get into a trade war, there's a real question on how we get out of it too, right? Because it's a race, a trade war.
Somebody analogized a trade war to me yesterday as a car crash. It
Right.
happens from 1 second to the next. You've got a car 1 second, you've got a wreck the next.
Yeah.
And rebuilding the car takes so much longer than starting the wreck. And
Yeah.
and I think the problem for this plan is has three magical thinking incorrect points. The first is that American manufacturing can step in right now and fill the
Right.
gap for a global
Right.
supply chain.
Which they
Whether
can't.
it's good or bad, they cannot.
And the pandemic showed us that
Yeah,
that it doesn't work, right? Like that you
right,
can't just be like, "Oh, now we're going to make chips here." Okay.
right. It just doesn't happen that way.
Yeah.
And look, it's even simple stuff. This idea that we're going to build all these new factories. So there's a thing called a bridge crane in a factory, y'all. It's a big, big, heavy crane that goes up and down on girders and moves big, heavy objects. The weight for bridge cranes, which are almost all made in Germany, is 90 months.
Right. No,
90 months, Molly. I mean, and so it just
if I
it
I I was told there would be no math.
I was
What
so
is
I
that?
know. I know. Yeah,
6
it's
years?
year. It's
7
6 years.
years?
Yeah, no, it's eight
Okay.
years.
It's
It's
8
forever
years.
and ever.
Right.
Okay, it's
Right,
fucking
right.
forever.
It's
Um,
it's well
the
into a democratic administration if
the
we
second
still have
magical,
elections.
yeah, the second magical thinking thing is that the other countries won't retaliate, that they won't do
Right.
anything, that those go, yes, Mr. Trump, we're so afraid of your art of the deal that we'll just bow down right now. Not one country, y'all, not one country has actually compromised with Trump on the tariffs. Canada and Mexico in the beginning of this whole thing kind of, spun him around and jerked him off a little bit, but it didn't work.
Right.
And the third part of it, I think, is that Trump thinks that the markets don't affect American political opinion.
Right.
He thinks he's separate from the markets, and I can tell you, just in our recent lifetime, Bill Clinton was lifted up in a time of scandal by great markets.
Right.
George Bush, at the end of his term, was brought down hard by bad markets. Barack
Yeah.
Obama was lifted up by good markets. Donald Trump was lifted up by good markets. Joe Biden was crushed by bad markets
Well,
that were so bad that during
and
Trump, that they carried on through his whole term.
And I would pause and say that if Donald Trump had a mandate, which I would argue he does not, but he would say he
No.
did, if he were to have a mandate, it would be to bring down the price of eggs, right? That
Sure.
was what he ran on, right? Bacon, the
Hmm.
price of bacon. He would say bacon, and
Right.
everyone would say, oh, he
Groceries,
means
Molly, what
egg.
are they? It's an
There, it's a very
old-fashioned term.
old-fashioned term, groceries. Very
Groceries.
old fashioned. It's old fashioned when you don't grocery shop, but when you grocery shop, it's actually just a term you use for
Just a
buying
term you
groceries.
use every day,
Yes.
which
But
shows you that Donald Trump has never
not
entered a
shopping for
grocery store
groceries.
for the purpose of
Right.
buying anything
But
in his
but the
adult
point
life.
is, if he did have a mandate, which we're arguing he doesn't, the one
Right.
thing that voters would say they voted for him for was to make things cheaper, right?
Yeah.
So what is he doing right now? What do trade wars do? They make things more expensive. So when you go to the, if you are a Trump supporter in Iowa and you need a new dishwasher and you
Hmm.
go to the store and it's $400 more than it was, or even if it's $200 more than it was,
Right.
that's a lot of money. And you were put in office to make things cheaper, right? If there was one reason, okay, obviously there's a lot of reasons why Trump won, many of which are because we're
Sure.
the United States of amnesia, remember nothing, know nothing,
Year
learn
zero every
nothing. Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Year zero every day. But I think that's a really important point. I think that the rage that people feel when they discover, yes, obviously racism, sexism, all of it, but the rage that they feel when they discover that their dishwasher is now $200 more is
Hmm.
going to be meaningful.
I think that's right, Molly. And I think the economic impact of this, we're already seeing. Look, we already saw the first sign of how bad the Doge cuts hurt the economy with 276,000
Right.
job losses last quarter. And I think yesterday I think it was like 24,000 job cuts announced just yesterday within 12 hours
Yeah.
of the speech at the White House.
Yeah.
I think that's going to really hit this the economy. We can all just agree it's going to be devastated. I
Yeah.
think this also sets up the Democrats for 2026 to just beat the drum on the economy, the economy, the economy.
Right.
Um, and look, if the election were held today, which it's not being held today, and Trump's numbers are at 41 this morning, which is dropping fast, folks, you would probably end up, even with gerrymandering, with about 30 to 35 Democratic seats in the pickup.
Right.
Now, it won't be held today, and it will, the equilibrium will go back to politically, you know, typical closer to the election. But if you're a Republican candidate right now, you're going to have to spend the next year and a half every time you're out at an event, every time you're out in public, if you ever go out in public, saying, "Oh, I wasn't for that. I didn't want
So,
that."
so let's talk about the tariffs, right?
Hmm.
There are plans for tariffs, and
There are concepts of
Grassley
a plans.
concepts of a plan. The Senate is nervous enough so that they are
Yeah.
trying, and this is one day of tariffs, right? The Senate is trying to wrestle back the tariffs. So that is, and we're seeing that there's a pretty healthy voting bloc that will
Oh
reject
yeah.
crashing the economy for no reason. They won't reject fascism. They won't reject,
Right. They're
kidnapping
fine
grad
with Pete
students.
Hegseth and Tulsi
Right.
Gabbard and
Right.
all
Kidnapping
the
grad
crazies.
students and, yeah, disappearing them in the middle of the night. That is
Right.
not their red line.
That's
But, right, their red line is crashing the economy for no reason. So that crew is Mitch McConnell, right? Irony among ironies.
indeed.
Yes.
Rand Paul of all
Rand
people.
Paul, Murkowski,
Hmm.
Collins,
Collins, Langford,
Langford, and maybe Thune.
And Tillis, I think.
And Tillis,
And
Who's in
yep.
North Carolina, up for
Hmm.
reelection in 2026. So my man is a little worried,
Yeah, he
as well
he
he
I think he
fucking
is I
should
think he is
be.
sweating. I think he's sweating
Who
this
is?
thing.
Wait, 2 seconds. Who is the
Mhm.
candidate who should run against Tillis in 2026?
Oh
Josh
look,
Stein. Who is the
I,
senator and the governor before the governor
look.
now?
I think Cooper could
Cooper,
be a
Roy
game changer
Cooper.
there.
But is it
Roy's
Roy
popular.
Cooper or is it Roy Cupper?
I think it's Cooper, but it could be Cooper. I don't know.
But that's a really good. He would be really good to
I
run for
think, but
Senate.
yeah,
He's won
he was a popular
statewide.
governor during
Yeah.
good economic times.
Yep.
And look, I think the Republican Senate map is very good for them,
Yeah.
but it's
Bulletproof.
not
Right.
good for them if we're in an economic free fall, and the Democrats put up people who just go straight to camera and say, this is crazy. They're hurting you. I'm not going to let this continue. I'm going to
And
stop this craziness.
let's talk about Maine, because in Maine there is a member of Congress who has been winning with the MAGAs, but who is a Democrat,
Right?
Jared
Gold,
Golden.
golden is
Golden.
golden is golden is golden. And look, if it's LePage, who is now getting up there, who is crazier than a shithouse rat,
Yeah, it's not going to. Yeah,
I think I think that that idea of LePage primary, I don't see it. Golden's
yeah,
got a very good lane, I think. And look, I will tell you, in 2020, when we went after Susan Collins, I got more shit from my old Republican friends about that than I did for going after Trump.
yeah.
They're like, "Oh, she's the good one. She's going to save us. She's going to be okay." Every single time she's had a chance to make a difference, she's done shit.
Yeah.
So that race is going to be tough. She'll raise a lot of money, but the MAGAs don't even love her. That's the irony
No,
here.
they do not
So yeah,
love her.
I think Golden has definitely got some buzz right now. The race I'm watching is the Texas U.S. Senate primary in the GOP, where
Ooh.
John Cornyn is going to be primaried by Ken Paxton.
Oh,
Now
that is fun.
that is going to be a
And
bloodbath.
the
They're
worst
gonna both
people you
race
know.
the
The
worst people
worst
you
people
know.
you know. Yeah.
And Cornyn's in the worst person category because I knew John Cornyn when he wasn't MAGA,
So
but he
let's
bent the
talk.
knee.
Right. So let's talk about the 2026 Senate map, because why the fuck not? We have Dan Sullivan in Alaska. That seems
Yep,
it's rough, right? I mean, there's a chance
it's
where Mary Perota could.
that's going to be it. Although I will tell you, there's a lot of intelligence that Alaska's been trending since the 24 election. There are some research indicators that Alaska's looking a little more blue,
Right.
and I think that there's a faction of the Alaska voting populace that are behavioral Democrats, but who work in the oil and gas industry up there.
Right.
And we're probably thinking, yeah, Trump will keep me in business.
Right.
I don't think that's going to be the case in
No.
Alaska because everything that Trump would like to do in Alaska is a 20-year lead time,
Yeah.
not regulatory lead time, like mechanical deploy the wells lead time. It's not going to change their vote in a year and a half.
So,
Um,
you have a Senate seat up in Florida, the
we do.
Ashley Moody seat.
Uh-huh. It
What do you?
that there's a lot of buzz on the ground right now. A lot of people talking about David Jolly could come in as a Democrat. So I would guess a
Yeah,
pro-choice Republican.
that has always worked. It's really
It,
good when
it-
you get a Republican in there, because if we've
you
learned
know what?
anything, now
I
I'm
gotta say,
making fun of Rick. Everyone
oh no.
listen to me make fun of Rick. If we've learned anything from the 2024 cycle, it's that Republicans love to vote for Democrats, and they all cross over all the time. Exactly, Pam.
The other thing
No.
Republicans love in red states is hyper progressives. They just love them. They're just so willing to cross the
All
line
right,
and
see,
say,
we've
my
really
number
things
one
have
issue
gotten
is
that things have run off the rails here, team. I like David Jolly as much as the next person,
look,
but
I
I
don't know what
do
that
think,
listen, I don't know what that race is going to look like yet.
right, and we don't
I
know
don't
what
know who else
Florida
is
looks
getting
like.
in,
Yeah,
but I can tell you, God love my Florida Democratic friends, but they are not on a winning streak.
no,
And if you've
they
done
are
the same
not. That's a
thing
very good
if you've
point.
done the same thing in the last 20 statewide elections and gotten your ass kicked every single time,
Might be time.
maybe
Yeah.
do something different, maybe
Um.
shake it up.
So
But
Joni Ernst is running again.
I want Osborne to get in that race. I want him,
Yeah, Dan
I want
Osborne.
Osborne. I think the world of Dan Osborne. I think he had a quirky idea that turned out to get some traction under it. And I think there is a rural working class coalition that a
Yep.
Democrat like Dan Osborne can get to. Now, can a progressive get to them? No.
Right.
But he is not central casting for,
No.
it's hard to say Dan Osborne's a coastal elite.
No,
You
he's
can't make
not.
that case.
I
Um,
also I want to bring up another Senate seat that is hard, but I have two I want to talk about.
Okay.
Tillis, right? We talked about Tillis. And
Yep.
then the other one is this the Ohio Senate seat, the JD
So
Vance seat.
the JD Vance seat. I think, and I don't have. I'm not. I'm basing this only on sort of a few Ohio campaigns under my belt over the years.
Yeah.
I think that the tariff thing may absolutely reset the Ohio political equation. I
Tell
think
it
you're going to have.
more. Give us
I
more
think you're
on
going to have
why.
pissed off MAGA voters who are going to lose
Yeah.
their jobs.
Yep.
Folks, Ohio is Ohio is not like the centerpiece of the of auto manufacturing in the country. There's auto manufacturing there, but it's not the hot center of it. What it is one of the great feeder states where they're
Hmm.
building the sub-assemblies, the wire harnesses, the electronics, the hydraulic systems, the brake components, all the parts. They start out, a lot of them start out there. Then they go send those parts over to Vietnam for further assembly. They come back to Ohio. They send them to Canada for further assembly. It's a system that's baroque, but but it's not broke. Aha, see?
Ah, that was very
Um,
clever of you.
that's pretty good, pretty good.
I'm tired
Um,
of you for
As Scott
your
Galloway goes,
trying
it's
to
good.
run David Jolly for a Democrat as a Democrat.
Look, I don't know what's going to happen
Annoying.
yet in that race. We'll
Maybe
see.
I love David Jolly. Don't get me wrong, he's my
Look, he's the
buddy,
first guy to
but
put his foot in the water with that
oh
political
no,
article
it's
last week, and I
good.
was
It's
like,
good. It's good. All right, all right.
okay. So anyway, Ohio
But
may
so
end up having a very pissed off group of MAGA voters who
who's who's the
who are
candidate
not.
there?
I mean, if I could get Sherrod Brown to come back and say,
Yeah,
"Miss me, motherfuckers," that would be my first and second and third pick. Honest answer.
yeah, mine too.
I
Yeah.
mean, he is a great campaigner, a great candidate. He got caught up in the undertow of the bullshit of the last cycle,
But
and
I think he could really win. I'm a
I think he
big,
could win. I'm a
yeah,
huge Sherrod Brown fan,
Sarah
and
Brown.
I do think that there is a potential in a state like Ohio where the tariffs are going to really, 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 really,
Yes,
really hurt. And the foreign countries, by the way, who are putting reciprocal tariffs on us,
it's not going to be good.
they're targeting states. They're targeting red states. You know why they're
Yep.
doing it? Because they're playing the long game. They do play three-dimensional chess, unlike Trump.
All right, so let's talk about Mallory McMorrow because everybody wants to talk about Mallory McMorrow.
Hmm.
Gary Peters, God bless him,
God
is
bless
gonna
him.
retire. God
God
bless
bless
you,
him.
Gary Peters.
God bless you.
Yeah,
Godspeed. Sail into the
right.
West, my friend.
Very good of you to take the high road here and not
Yep.
not die-fi your way into things.
Ugh.
So I know, right? So this is good. I think Mallory McMorrow, there's another person in that primary. There may be more than one. I mean, certainly I'm a Mallory fan. She's raised more than $1 million already. So
Yep.
that's a good sign. Can we do a
Look,
minute on
I don't know
Durbin?
who ends up on the Republican side there yet. It's
It's gonna be that
James is
same guy. They
it's
keep running that
James is
same
probably going to run
guy.
again.
Yeah.
But
The
he'll be a
one,
three-time loser.
yeah, that guy, they keep running that guy. Poor guy. It's like, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Like,
What's his name?
third
John
time may be the
James?
charm, but the third time may
Yeah.
also be the time that you absolutely get wrecked the fuck over, and
Right.
it's done. You never run again.
So, do we think Dick Durbin is going to run again?
I have heard that Durbin is going to run again.
Really?
I I heard it the other day that he's not closing the door on it,
He has been in the
and
Senate since 1997.
I am aware.
Yeah.
Oh, I am aware. He has been there. He's a long haul guy. He's a carry him out
My
feet first
man
guy. It
is
looks like,
80 years old. Okay, he's 80. So his if he runs again in 2026, he will be 82.
dude, go buy a house in Cape Coral, retire, enjoy a few years in the sun.
So he would stay in until he was 90. Now,
Yeah,
here's a question for you.
that's a tough hump, honestly.
It's Dick Durbin. I
Hmm.
want to the he is from Illinois. You know who could run for his
Hmm.
seat? Is a man called JB Pritzker. Perhaps you've heard of
and
him.
he would blow the doors off winning that seat. And I also think J.B. Pritzker in the Senate would be a game changer for the Democrats because he likes to fight. He is not a guy, he's not a Schumer who sits back and says, let's wait for Trump to fall on his ass.
Right.
He'd be out there every day trying to shake the tree, rattle the cage, whatever analogy you want to use, because because Pritzker is a scrapper,
Yeah.
and he is showing people every day as a governor
Yeah.
he's a scrapper. And by the way, just as an aside,
But he has,
every blue state
but
governor can take a lesson from
Pritzker,
him.
right. And Pritzker would actually be done by 2026. So it would not be that he was
Oh, right,
giving up
right, right. We're not
credit.
we're
It
not
wouldn't
opening a
be,
vulnerability there.
right. No, no. He would be done. And he's
Yeah.
really good. And he would be an extremely good senator when, and he'll be done. So we wouldn't be taking him away, you guys. We'd be, I'm reading the chat here, so I see that, um but I think that would be smart, especially because as much as we love Dick Durbin, we need to stop with this idea that the Senate is a place you can hang out when you
No, you
don't have
can't.
anything else going on.
You've
And
got to go. I mean, the caucus right now. There's a reason why, and I want to talk about this a little bit, Molly. There's a reason why Cory Booker's 25-hour filibuster electrified a lot of Democrats
yeah,
and it thrilled a lot of Democrats because it was
yeah,
one of the first times they've seen somebody go out and it almost what he said mattered. A lot of what he said was
right.
really important and
No, it
well
was
done,
incredible.
but it was almost as important that he broke the ice on being brave in public, having some courage, going out and standing up. And look, what he did is tough. And you and I go on TV every day and we talk for 10 minutes or whatever the fuck it is, right? Or we talk on a stream like this for 30 minutes or whatever. And folks, I got to tell you, you can finish a few TV hits. You spend an hour on TV, you're like, okay, I'm going to go have a shower. I need a nap. He did this for 25
25
hours
hours and 18
and
minutes.
18 minutes. He did this. It's physically demanding. He could have crapped out. He could have like collapsed in the middle of the night. He could have. You never know how you're going to hold up. But
Right,
what he did showed Democrats that you don't have to be like Chuck Schumer. You don't have to hide in the background. You don't have
right,
to pretend my honorable colleagues on the other side of the aisle are just
right, right,
no.
right,
You can go out and be brave, and the courage of doing it at the risk of embarrassment, the risk of
right.
because look, what would the right wing media machine have done if Cory Booker had crapped out in 8 hours?
Well,
Ha ha ha! Ted
I,
Cruz did better, and all this crap.
I think the point of this is that bravery is contagious, right? There
Sure.
are a lot of billionaires who have bent the knee and very successful lawyers, but most of America doesn't like this, right? That's what we
Nope.
saw in Wisconsin. That's what we saw in Florida, where these Florida races moved blue. We had a district of Florida's first district go blue for the first time in
In
decades.
19
And
since 1992.
right. So America does not like this. They don't like
Right.
authoritarianism. They don't like crashing the markets for no reason. They don't like any of this. Um,
It's so true, Molly, and I think that it's important for our friends and our viewers to remember that authoritarianism depends in large measure on you being scared and shutting up and not expressing your opposition to
right.
to things turning to shit. Well, people are expressing their opposition to it. People are speaking out. People are, gearing up to run for office. I spoke to somebody last night, a wealthy guy, who's like, I've been giving to candidates for years, but now I think I'm going to start. I might run for something now
Good.
because I'm on the sidelines right now. I have resources. I'm secure. I can go back to my home state and I can mount a campaign that I think I can make a difference. And
Yeah.
I hear from
It's
people like that a lot, like local candidates who are like,
yeah.
where do I start? What do I do? And people are getting off their asses. And I think the thing about MAGA that felt in the psychological sort of matrix of a lot of voters and Democratic voters in particular was they're all powerful, they're everywhere, we can't stop them, but we can. And
Yeah.
people saw that in Wisconsin this week. Um, and they saw that in the move in Florida this week of just how much the system in Florida in particular, in red districts in a red state, the numbers have swung so dramatically
Right.
that
And they're
and I can
pretty
tell you
freaked
this,
out.
Republicans are
Republicans are
freaking the
freaked
fuck out.
out. Yes, I am starting hearts because I can't figure out how to do my setup so I don't look ridiculous. I want for a minute to talk about, right, people are hitting the streets. We see
April 5th.
run for
Yep.
something,
Run for something.
humongous group, putting together lots and lots of people who want to run for office. So I do think that's a really good point. I yes, oh thank you. There it just we just all have to be brave. We have to, just remind ourselves that that America has a long history of being a democracy, and we're not going to lose it now. We're going to keep going, and I
Right.
think that's the only answer.
Right. And I look, the greatest day in America for Donald Trump and Steve Bannon and Stephen Miller and Tom Homan and all these weirdo Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. The greatest day in America would be if folks like you guys who are watching right now said, "I'm done. Can't do it anymore.
Right.
I'm just gonna sign on and pretend it's all normal." But you guys aren't pretending it's normal, which I think is really good. By the way, I want to do one more thing, Molly, before we close up. I know you've got something on the clock in a few minutes. Um, if you work in the White House and you hear that Laura Loomer's on the schedule, you should be terrified because Laura fucking Loomer, who is completely insane, is apparently now able to fire members of the national security staff, including the head of the National Security Agency. It's kind of exciting.
And not good. Not good. Let's
Not
not
good.
do that. Let's not
Let's
do
not do
that,
that.
team.
Well, everybody, listen, this has been another episode of What the Friday, a unique episode of What the Friday. It's been great having you all here. We're trying to sort out a way to like read and get more of your comments in front of us while we're doing this. It is
Yes.
not easy.
Send us
Um,
messages. Send us
yeah,
messages.
we're gonna get some staffing behind this in the next show, I think, and figure out how
And
to
by
do it.
staffing, we mean me.
Well, no, I will find somebody to help us with this Q&A issue. But thank you for watching What the Friday. We love you all. We'll talk to you again next week.